Hi everyone, it's Todd Milewski from the Kohl Center. After the Badgers lose 5-3 to Ohio State in their first game of 2022, a delayed first game of 2022. This game was supposed to happen Friday, but as I'll get into a little bit more detail here in a minute, they wouldn't have had enough players to be able to play on Friday, and so series pushed back to Saturday, Sunday. And the Badgers were ahead going to the third period, but Ohio State scored 3 times for a 5-3 victory. If you're going to win the Big Ten, you've got to be good in the third period. And I wouldn't say the Badgers were bad in the third period, just Ohio State was that much better and able to capitalize on a couple of chances that they got. That was a pretty important, change in the game. And this is not something we were unaware of from Ohio State coming in. I mean, entering the game, they had outscored teammates or other teams 39-13, I think, 39-13 or 14 in the third period. And so the Badgers took a lead on a Dominic Mersch goal late in the second, but then it kept us down to the third period, and Ohio State has a belief in what they can do when they get to that point of the game, and that I think really shone through. They got a goal from Grant Gabrielle, which to me it seemed like the Badgers backed off a little bit too much. Gabrielle entered the zone with a lot of space, fired a shot that Jared Moe said ticked off a stick and changed directions. So he was expecting it to go to his left side and ended up going to his right side. Past his glove, off the post and in. That tied the game at 3-3. And then with 5:39 left in regulation, Georgi Merkulov, Ohio State's leading goal scorer, got free on the left side for a pass. It was actually James Maroney made a really good shot fake at the top of the zone, and it looked like through a screen Mo bit on that, and then when the pass moved, Mo couldn't quite get over in time to face that shot square, and Merkulov had a lot of the net to shoot at, and he hit it to put Ohio State up 4-3, and then Joe Dunlap scored into an empty net in the last minute to make it a 3-goal third period against, and Ohio State now 5-6 when trailing after the second period, which is, pretty remarkable. You expect the team to be pretty, being around 500 when you're trailing going to the third period is a pretty good stat, I think. You don't like to be in that position very often if you're a coach, and Steve Rock I'm sure doesn't, but I think he knows that he's got a team that can engineer a comeback, and that's certainly what happened tonight. So the Badgers got in their lineup tonight were 13 players who had not practiced since Monday. Well, I guess there was a morning skate today, so they had that. But most of this week, the Badgers had 5 forwards, 2 defensemen, and 2 goalies in practice. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's what they had, and it was they had to make a decision. The games were postponed on Tuesday. But it was clear that both sides wanted to play this weekend if possible. And when the quarantines came back as being that Badgers would be out of them, enough players would be out of them on Saturday to have a full lineup, that's when the go-ahead happened on a Saturday-Sunday series. The quarantines, let's just say, were not popular, it seemed, with Badgers players. And we got a little bit more of an explanation on why so many of them were in quarantine when, as I understand, there was only one positive test. Dominic Mersch was in here in the media room after the game, and he was one of the ones that had been out for the 4 days, out of practice for the 4 days. And I asked him, what he had done to try and keep keep himself ready to come back and play today. He said, he didn't go outside a lot. It was too cold to be working out a lot out there, but did a lot of stuff in his apartment with body weight and bands to try and keep ready. He said, honestly, the rules that they kind of sprung on us was a little surprising. We weren't expecting that, and we had to face that adversity, face that challenge. We answered the bell to an extent. We came in, we competed, and we worked for one another, and I'm proud of those guys. I'm proud of Mosey and Jared Moe. All the guys that were out and the guys that were here, they stayed prepared. So it was tough. It was a hard situation, but we got in a little escape this morning, and we came and competed. That's all we can ask. So I asked what about the rules was surprising because, well, I know some things have changed recently, and I wondered whether that was what Mersch was talking about. And Jared Moe interjected that things changed last week. Mersch said, we have pretty much our full team being fully vaccinated. I don't know what pretty much our full team necessarily means there. I know there are, I don't know a number. There are some that aren't vaccinated. And then Mersch continues, and then they changed it to us apparently not being fully vaccinated and really didn't even give us enough time to get a booster shot. Couldn't find an appointment in the city of Madison within like 5 days. So it was frustrating for us because we didn't understand it, but that's the way it went, and you live with it, and we're going to try to move on from it and be ready to go tomorrow. It's been difficult to try and work out the who's and what's and where's and timing this week of the quarantine for the Badgers. A lot of players. Jared Moe was out for those 4 days and had to come in and he got some shots in practice this morning at morning skate, but had to come in kind of cold and not an ideal situation to be playing a good team like Ohio State on that. And so that was one of the main threads of this game, or this night really, maybe not even the game so much as the whole night of how are the Badgers going to be, how active would they be, how energetic would they be, how sharp would they be in the first period, especially after that layoff for most of their players. And I thought they were pretty good in the first period, actually. Took a 1-0 lead. It was a fairly even first period in terms of chances. They got Carson Bantle's goal to take the lead, and that gave them a boost there, I think. Ohio State wrestled the lead away early in the second, but then Badgers came and took it back with a 5-on-3 goal by Roman Ashan, and then Mersch's goal. That was up until the third period when Ohio State scored 3 times. All in all, I thought it went pretty well for the Badgers, and I think you have to, if you're the coaching staff, and Tony Granado said this, you have to appreciate what they did in these tough situations. Yeah, they didn't see it to the finish, and like I said before, if you're going to be a good team in the Big Ten, you have to be good in the third period. But, I mean, some tough circumstances here. Not to let them completely off the hook here. They had a lead going in the third period. They didn't close it out, so that's a bad mark on them. But this is a different situation, and Dominic Mersch said the words. I have to go back and look, make sure I get it right. He said that it's dangerous sometimes when you have to not play or not be in practice, and then have most of your team not in practice and then come in and play. As a counter, I guess, the games were postponed. They had an out there, but everyone said all week, if we can play, we will play. And so that's where that ended up. So enough on that. The challenge that the Badgers called in, I have to look up in my notes. It was the second period. It Yeah, 10:49 to go in the second period. Gustav Westland was called for holding, and the Badgers used their timeout to ask for a review of a major penalty. They said, I asked Tony Granado what he was asking for a review of afterward. He said there was a slew foot on the play. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at it. They thought that should have been a major penalty, and that review was unsuccessful, but wanted to pass along that bit of information. Daniel Latch was on the line chart originally, but was scratched. Not sure his status for tomorrow night. Granado said he wouldn't know until tomorrow. He also was one of the many who didn't skate Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. So that, I think, will wrap it up here from the Kohl Center. We'll be back after Sunday evening, 3 o'clock start. After that game against the Buckeyes, right back here at the Kohl Center to wrap that one up. Make sure you check out the story on madison.com or in Sunday's State Journal. Thanks for joining me. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good night.